On today's episode of Soul Impact, we welcome a true country pop storyteller, Tyler Herwig. With songs like Living in the Last Days and Honey, That's You, he blends heart, soul, and lived experience into every lyric. Get ready for conversation filled with music, meaning, impact. Let's welcome Tyler Herwig.
This program is part of the Scene Project's podcast network. The Scene Project features interviews with independent musicians, comedians, and artists from across the Midwest. Become part of our community and support local art wherever you are.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Impact. I'm your host, Wild Willie. Today I got with me pop country artist Tyler Herwig. Tyler, I want to thank you, buddy, for answering the Facebook message to be on the show.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
So a little bit about the show. Growing up, my childhood wasn't the best, so it was a very abusive. So I used music, or not used, but I used music as a outlet to learn how to feel about things I was going through. And I later on, as an adult, turned that into a DJ karaoke business, where I have seen a lot of people give up on themselves as an artist because they didn't believe in themselves. So that's kind of the motion behind this. So why don't you tell everybody kind of a little bit about yourself and kind of what you got going on?
Yeah, so I'm a pop country musician. I always tell people I'm kind of like if you took Ed Sheeran and Dan and Shay and you smushed them together. That's kind of where I lie genre-wise. I've been performing professionally now for 16 years, full-time for the last five years. Yeah, and it's been a wild ride. It's led me to play thousands of shows all over the world. I did my first European tour this past summer, opening up for Dylan Carmichael and Kaylee Bell, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. And kind of what you said, there've been many times where I thought I should give up or that I wasn't good enough, but continuing to chase after my dreams with every free second I had and every breath in my lungs, is what has led me to growing this business and this community of fans into what it is today. And I'm excited to see where it continues to go in the future.
Man, your Honey, That's You, that's a very catchy song.
Thanks.
I do a little bit of research before I do these things because I kind of like to know what I'm talking about.
It's good.
But everybody has their own creative writing style. When you're writing, what kind of style do you use to write your music?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the song. Like I know some people try and really subscribe to, like they've just got their one way that they write songs. And for me, I don't know if there's any one way that I necessarily write over another. Sometimes it comes from I'm dinking around on my guitar and I come up with some really cool, little lick, and I'll end up writing around that and putting lyrics to it. Sometimes it's like something that my wife says to me, or a passage from a Bible, like a Bible verse that I read that just inspires me to write. Most of the time, I would say recently it's been what inspires me is just my relationship with my wife. We just had our second kid back in January, so our house is a little bit more full now, and I just think about how grateful I am to have her in my life. And when I was younger, I never thought I was going to get married. I never thought I would have kids. I never thought I wanted to have either of those things. I just kind of wanted to be a perpetual bachelor. But now that I have it, I can't imagine I can't imagine ever not wanting it. It's this crazy thing. And so most of the songs that I write and the stories that I tell now are all about my family and how grateful I am for them and how much I love them.
Right on. So, you don't mind kind of telling us what first pulled you into music, and when did you realize that music was your calling?
Yeah, what first really pulled, well, I've always loved to sing. Like I've always loved to sing. I grew up singing in children's choir and church and stuff like that. But when I was 16, I realized that girls really like musicians, and I wanted to impress girls in high school. So I picked up a guitar and taught myself how to play, and started singing songs to every girl I could get my eyes on. And it was a good pickup strategy back in the day. It's actually how I met my wife, is she left her phone number in my tip jar. But it really became this full-time thing for me, like this serious passion 6 years ago when I got sober. And I realized in that moment that I could change lives with my music, because music could change my life. It was the thing that got me through the first year of my sobriety, and I really wanted to pay it forward by sharing my story and my testimony with the people around me. And that's when I took it a lot more seriously and saw this kind of exponential growth, because I started having the willingness to be truly honest with my fans.
That's amazing, and congratulations on the sobriety.
Oh, thanks.
That's a big feat, coming from someone that dealt with alcohol for a long time. That's a big feat.
Yep. Alcohol was my biggest weakness too. So I'm right there with you. It's tough.
And part of it is the music today. There's so many lyrics talks about how turning in the bottle or another shot of whiskey, or it puts it in kids' ears. It really does. I mean,
yeah, and that's why I'm very selective when I write my songs. I really try and keep things. If I'm gonna make a reference to alcohol or drugs or partying or sleeping around, I always try and talk about it in the negative. Like, this isn't what I wanted, even though it's what I thought I wanted, like that kind of thing. I actually have a song called it's one of my only pop songs that I wrote, called "Home Tonight," featuring a friend of mine named Lila. And when you listen to the song, it sounds like it's like this party anthem. But if you really dive into the lyrics, the song is about not wanting to go out and party, and kind of this desperation for looking for something more real than that superficial stuff. But it definitely doesn't always translate super well. And that was one of the songs when I realized that, like, the stories I want to tell don't translate to pop music quite as well. That was when I started getting really heavily into like country music, and that's where I kind of found my sound.
Well, you are very talented, buddy. So you have a song, "Living the Last Days." Why don't you kind of tell the story behind that and what inspired it?
Yeah, that song was really inspired by the pandemic in 2020. I kept hearing, honestly, over and over again, from the news to friends to my grandparents, that the world was ending, we were all going to die. And I didn't, at the time, that was like when I had just gotten sober, and so I was like, that literally can't be the case, because I thought that God had, I still do, I think God has a bigger plan for me in this life, and like the stories I have to tell. So I just couldn't allow myself to buy into some of the fear and the panic that was going on in the world. Like, I had to force myself to have this positive attitude. But I started really thinking about when in my past had I felt like my world was ending? When did I feel like I was living in the last days? When like the whole, like everything was crashing down around me. And for me, that was always in the last couple of weeks of like a relationship that was going to end. It's a very relatable feeling. Like, sometimes you see those warning signs, like the good morning text stop coming in, or the hugs or the kiss goodbye stops coming, that kind of thing. And I had been in a lot of relationships that were like that, and I had ruined the relationship because I was too busy being selfish. And so I always saw these warning signs, and that's really what Living in the Last Days is about. It's about this this guy, this person who knows that the thing he loves is coming to an end because of the choices that he's made, and he's living in the last days of that relationship. Kind of feels like everything's crashing down around him.
Right on. It's a really good song. I mean, that one and Honey, That's You. That's the ones that kept popping up every time I search you. So those are probably the two I really listen to the most. And so, I talked before talking about hitting at 250 shows a year. What's that been like? How has that affected your family? And
yeah, it's definitely something that has a unique set of challenges with it. 250 shows a year is probably on the low end. I think last year I did 283. I think this year I'm looking at doing about 278 or something like that. So I mean, it's 5-6 days a week year round, and that can be tough because I'm gone a lot. However, the majority of my shows they're late at night. So I'm home all day during the day, from, if you're putting it in context of 9 to 5, I'm home from 9 to 5. And then at 5:30 is when I leave to go to a show. So, I'm home actually more often than people would assume, but it definitely has challenges. I don't get to tell my daughter bedtime stories. I don't get to tuck her in at night. If my wife is feeling sick and the kids are sick too, which actually all three of my wife and my two kids are all sick right now. I can't be quite as helpful at night when sometimes, the coughing gets a little worse or something like that. And so that has a set of challenges, but it's something that my wife and I've been a full-time musician ever since we got married. So this is kind of just all that we know. I don't think either of us could really imagine me going to work at 9 a.m. and coming home at 5 and then having the afternoons free. It would seem so foreign to us. So I definitely think it's something that we're very blessed that it's always kind of been this way, and we don't know anything any different.
I mean, hey, it's amazing that y'all have found a way to make it work. I mean, that's what it's really all about.
Yeah, I think with any business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, you got to put in the extra hours. You can't assume that you're going to be successful doing the bare minimum, right? And kind of the bare minimum standard is that 40-hour work week. That's minimum for full time. If you really want something, you got to put in those after hours. You have to put in those unpaid shifts to get the results that you want. And my wife believes in my music just as much as I do, if not more at times, that God's got a plan for these stories to impact lives, and it would be selfish of us to not do everything we could to get them out in front of people.
So many of your songs feel deeply impersonal. How does your own life experience and family play into that song?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I said before, it's like my family is the thing that inspires me to write and create my music. I always kind of joke around that I don't necessarily need to be famous for my music, but the thing I really want to be famous for is for loving my wife. I just want I want to stand on the mountaintop or the rooftop and just scream it all day long that I love her more than anything. And that's the thing I really want to be known for. And that's why I write all my songs for my wife and for my kids. My songs are all love letters to my wife that I hope my kids can one day read, basically, and it's a huge blessing to have to wake up every morning and be inspired all over again to write something new that other people can relate to.
That's amazing. And you pretty much just answered my next question. So we're just going to bypass that one. So, for me, music has been like one of them things that pull you out of depression. Like I suffer from PTSD and depression pretty bad. And especially after my divorce 3 years ago, I was like, I was a wreck. Um, and like, what hurts the most by Rascal Flats? I mean, I've always loved that song, but during my divorce, the lyrics of that song hit so much differently than when I first heard it. And I always tell people, music's in your life for a season. What you get out of that season of life, out of that song, may not necessarily be what you get out of it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And music is your way of helping you process emotions. I'm a firm believer of that. Because when I'm mad, and I was so mad that she was gone, I listened to "She Hates Me" by Puddle of Mud. Then I went to our marriage was so toxic. I didn't like who I'd become in our marriage, and I didn't know how to change who I was. So then I listened to Michael Jackson, "Man in the Mirror," and I realized before I got to affect anybody, I got to change who I am. And not that I need to change to please somebody, but I need to change enough to where I'm happy with being me.
Yeah.
And that was one of the toughest things to learn, because I do see on the DJ side of it and the sound guy side of it. And I talked about this in the very beginning. I see a lot of artists that don't believe in themselves, or when someone comes to them with advice and they say, "Hey, Tyler, you're doing great, but try not to scream in the mic." And I'm not saying you are. I'm just using that because we're talking, I've seen a lot of artists tell them, "Well, it's my show. I'm going to do how I want." But then on the flip side of that, I've seen artists where they take the advice and they become better. So what's an advice that someone has given you musically that you have taken and it has helped you become a better artist?
Best piece of advice, there's two if I'm being totally honest. So one piece of advice that's really always inspired me has been to find your 25th hour. And essentially that just means to work harder than you think you could, and longer than you think you can. There's more time in the day than people realize, and you just have to learn how to utilize the time that you've been given to be the most productive. The other thing that's been really helpful for me is it's one of my old roommates several years ago who asked me, "Tyler, what side of the stage do you want to be on?" And he asked me that question when I was first getting clean, kind of to really challenge me. Do you want to be in the crowd, partying, drinking, having all that kind of fun, or do you want to be on stage having that kind of fun? Because you can't be in the crowd and on stage at the same time. And so my best advice to people is find your 25th hour and decide what side of the stage you want to be on.
Man, you just keep answering my questions ahead of time. I'm going to have to come up with some new questions.
Sorry.
This is going to be really impromptu here in a minute. You built a reputation for your heartfelt music. What's been the most memorable fan interaction you've ever had?
It's been a few, but like a few really notable ones. One in particular is I released a song back in January of 2022. I'm gonna go 2022. It's 2021 or 2022. I can't remember. Called Enough. And when I released it, I really didn't think much of it. Like, it's a really important song to me and tells people a lot about who I am as a person. But that song in particular, when I released it, I got a bunch of messages on my social media from people that had told me that they were struggling with some of the same things that I used to struggle with, and wanted to know how I got better and how could they get better too. And I know there was one guy in particular who told me he was on the verge of unaliving himself, and that song came on a Spotify rotation on some playlist, and it saved his life. And that's something that I think about every once in a while. Just like this is why I do music. This is why. It's like you were saying a minute ago when you were going through your divorce. Music has the power to change everything about your day, your mentality, to help you deal with emotions that you don't even know you have. And I want to pay it forward and help other people to get through their stuff.
And you can really see that and hear that in your music when you listen to your music. You really can.
Thank you.
So, again, you answered that question. So, what's been that one song you have written that has given you the most healing through?
Enough would be up there, but I actually just wrote a new song after the events of this past September. There was a lot of violence, a lot of tragedy in the world, and particularly in our country, that just really affected me emotionally and spiritually, and it moved me to make even bigger changes in my own life. And I wrote a song called "Forgive Us Our Sins" that hopefully by the time this episode airs is out. And I think that song is probably the most impactful song that I have ever written. And I will be shocked if I ever write something more impactful than it is. It is. I truly think this song will change the world.
That's amazing. We need more songs like that. We really do. I mean, I was raised on the older country where we had a lot of that in the music, and then we got away from it for a while. It became more about partying and, going down that dark lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to see country music, especially, coming back to its roots. Where you hear more of them heartfelt songs and the songs about not being okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge George Jones fan, and he wrote "He Stopped Loving Her Today." It talks about how great somebody loves somebody, and he was willing to take that to his grave.
Yeah.
And that it's really nice to see in someone else's music that all is coming tenfold again.
Music has a very circular lifestyle. What comes out will eventually come back in.
Absolutely. So what's been that one song that you have heard, not necessarily one that you have written, that has kind of brought you out of your darkest time?
Yeah. There's
going to get easier, didn't you?
No, I kind of did. No, that's a good one. There's a song by a gospel artist that I grew up listening to. His name is Keith Green. The song is called "He'll Take Care of the Rest," and that is a song that I could go back and listen to 1,000 times over. And anytime that I'm having an emotional moment, let's say, that song will turn my whole day around. So I'll go with "He'll Take Care of the Rest" by Keith Green.
That's an amazing song. I tell you, one of my favorites, and it's not the top, but it's one of my favorites. He's not with us anymore, rest his soul, but that was "How Great Thou Art" by Charlie Daniels. I love that song.
That's a good one.
I was fortunate enough, I got to see him back a year before he passed away, so I think it would have been 21, I think. Don't quote me on that. And I got to see him and Travis Tritt and Cadillac 3 live here in Missouri.
Wow.
And it was just, even his stage presence, he stayed true to who he was. For 82 years old, he stayed true to every bit of who he was. And that's what country music needs. That's what music, not just country music, that's what music in general needs. it needs people that keep their heart, not confining to what a label wants.
Yeah.
And I talked about this in several other interviews, that I see it as someone that's been doing sound for a while and someone gets signed. A lot of times these record labels wants to portray you as a different image. Like, they want to portray you into somebody that sells and not who you are. And eventually it catches up with you, because you can't live that lifestyle and not stay true to who you are if you're trying to confine who the record label says you are.
Mm-hmm.
So, I tell everybody, all my musician friends, the most important thing is to stay true to who you are, and that's where I'm pretty fortunate. When I joined up with the Scene Project, Bubba, I told him, I said, I want to run my show my way. And he's like, Willie, I'm just trying to help you out. I'm not trying to mold you into something else. I'll give you pointers on how to make your show better, but I'm not asking you to change what you do.
Yeah.
I think the record labels need to adapt that.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how over the next few years, like what role record labels play in the future of music. You have so many people now that have the ability to self-produce their own music. You can make a radio quality song at your like in your basement with minimal overhead costs. You don't need a $50,000 microphone anymore. You can do it with a Shure SM7, and it's really all you need, and like some time. And then you also have the impact that artificial intelligence will have on the music industry right now, with just the ability to create songs and replicate people's voices. It'll be really interesting to see if labels find a way to stay relevant. Honestly, some of it will depend on like what legislation looks like going forward for artificial intelligence. And I also think that people are going to get really sick and tired of seeing stuff that's made by artificial intelligence. We're going to want some humanity in our art. Otherwise, it's never going to grow. And I think that labels, if they want to meet people where they are, they'll have to find a way to let artists be who they are as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the thing is, like you said, it's made, and marketplace is a godsend. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can find someone that's giving up and selling everything and get it at a decent price. I ain't gonna lie. When I started my DJ business, I found a complete sound system on Marketplace for $450.
Yep.
I mean, it was 4 big old non-powered speakers that filled up the whole back of my pickup, but it was where I got my start.
Yeah.
Since then, I have upgraded because I went cheap because I didn't know if it was something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that would probably be my advice to people, that if you're not sure about it, you ain't got to drop $1,000 on something. Search Marketplace. I mean,
yeah. You can get a lot of good stuff. And I mean, some of it too is like the new stuff isn't necessarily any better. It might be more intuitive. It might be slightly easier to use, but if you just take some time to learn how to do the thing, like, it's not that hard. It's really not. Just take some time and some, little elbow grease, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and since I've upgraded, I really have. I had 2 big old top speakers that felt like you were moving the house when you moved them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've upgraded the power speakers, and I wish I'd have done that a long time ago, because it's a whole lot easier to go, plug in, and you're ready to play.
Yeah.
My first mixer I bought in that deal, it was way bigger than I needed for DJing and karaoke, but it was a big old 16-channel PV mixer with another 6 more monitor channels. So way bigger than I needed for sound. And it was just, I found my heart. Even when I went through my divorce, I never quit DJing, because it was who I am. I mean,
Yeah.
So how do you balance making your music that's true to who you are, but also resonates with the widest audience that you have?
Sure. I mean, honestly, I think my goal as a musician is not necessarily to please everybody. You know, um, my goal is to like hunt down the people that like what I'm doing. That doesn't mean I can't grow and learn and adapt, and my music can't evolve with me over time. Honestly, I'd be shocked if it didn't evolve with me over time, like it should. But like my goal is really just to make the music and find a way to get the music in front of people, and you get to choose if you like it. I I have people that hate my music, and that's fine. You know, there are people that hate Taylor Swift, but she's still the biggest artist in the world. So it doesn't. I don't need to please everybody. Um, I shouldn't. I just need to create stories that resonate with a few people. And if I can find a few people that are all in on helping me grow, whether that be through helping me advertise or buying merch or donating to a crowdfunding campaign so I can help, make the next song. Um, you don't need a million fans. You just need 1,000 fans that are all bought in. I mean, imagine if you have 1,000 fans, they're all paying you $100 a year, right? That's $100,000 business, and you only need 1,000 customers to give you $100 over the course of the year. That's maybe what, buying a T-shirt and 2 CDs. That's like $100. Like if I told you all you had to do was sell a T-shirt and 2 CDs to 1,000 people, and you could have a 100,000, a 6-figure business, like that seems really manageable. That's 2.5 people a day that you got to find. Super reasonable.
Yeah, but it sure is a lot of work coming from someone that does sound. I mean, I work harder.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's reasonable. I'm saying it's doable.
Yeah.
It's an achievable thing. Like just because it's manageable doesn't mean that it's easy. And honestly, I think if it were easy, everybody would do it. And I'm glad that everybody doesn't do it. But when you have resources like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you're telling me you can't find 1,000 people with all these different social media platforms that can, buy into you. I think most people could. I really do. Like you can get 1,000 people to watch it on TikTok if you live stream for a week, or if you've never done it before. Like when I live stream on TikTok, I probably have 7,000 people that are watching me. Hey, I'm not like huge. I'm not huge on TikTok. I've only got, couple thousand followers.
Well, it's about playing. Let me make sure I wrote this right. It's about staying true to who you are, but yet playing to your audience.
Yeah.
Like if you go to, I use this thing I got going on next year, a veteran concert. You're going to play different for a veteran concert than you are at a bar.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, that's why I got into DJing. I was going to make country music popular again. And I quickly realized not all everybody likes the old country like I do.
Sure.
So what's next for you as far as your career?
Yeah, I mean, the next thing for me really is I want to get into a more solid release schedule. I'd like to start putting out at least one song every month, consistently. I'd like to see a little bit more social proof. I've got decent like listeners on Spotify, like monthly listeners, but I'd like to see that grow. Because for me, it's not about the vanity metric. It's about knowing that people are resonating with what I'm saying and what I'm singing and writing about. And then it's just to see how far can I go on my own. I don't know necessarily what I would do if a record label came and offered me a deal. It need to be the right deal. But I definitely know that my mission is just beginning, and I want to find a way to share my stories and my testimony with more people, and that's really what I have coming down the line.
That's amazing. Like I will say, Bubba, I've interviewed him. He was my very first interview on the Soul Impact, and he stated during his interview that when you perform, it gives your audience a chance to get to better to know you.
Yeah.
And if you put your heart into it, when your 30 minutes is up, you're going to walk off the stage and feel like, man, I really know Tyler. Tyler is an incredible person. And it's amazing. I think finding you a mentor, especially if you're just starting out, finding you a mentor that can pour into you is going to be life-changing.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you're out there and you've been doing it a while, find someone that you can pour into. We've got to unite as a whole and as a community, as people in the entertainment community. We've got to all link together, whether that's me, hey, listen to this new song by Tyler, or hey, I think this is a good fit for your radio station, or whatever it is. Hey, I've seen Tyler on Soul Impact. He has an amazing story. You should listen to this song. That's what I want from all this. I want people to be able to relate to who you are.
Yeah.
Your songs already tell a huge, powerful message. They really do. But getting to know you a little better so they can see who the real Tyler is, that's what's important.
Yeah.
So if you could collaborate, I'm going to ask you two different questions. They're going to be close to the same but different. If you could collaborate with any artist, who would it be?
Russell Dickerson.
Why?
I just think his music is just fun, like it's got a cool groove, makes you want to get up and dance. And I don't know if I've found my like dance music vibe yet. I don't think anybody's line dancing to my songs, but people are line dancing to all of his. So I think that'd be a fun collaboration.
Right on. And then the other part of that question, if you could collaborate and bring any artist back, who would it be that you would want to collaborate with?
Like back to life or back to the industry?
Back to life.
Okay, so we gotta be
like the iconic artists that are no longer with us.
Sure, got you. Honestly, man, I'm gonna go with Michael Jackson.
I can see it. I mean, that would be a heck of a performance. It really would.
It'd be an interesting mashup, but it would be cool. Just the way he's able to put so much emotion behind his voice, and I mean, guy's a legend. It'd be wild.
So we're probably gonna get ready to wrap this thing up soon, but
yeah.
Before we do, what message do you hope listeners walk away with after hearing your music?
Love your family. That's the big key, Love your family more than you think you can. You let them know that every day. You never know when fate could strike.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you guys can find my full tour schedule at tylerherwig.com. You can also follow me on every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all at Tyler Herwig Music. And I live stream every single one of my shows on TikTok. So come hang out. Love you to know you guys, and see you again here near and far.
That's good to know. I'm going to have to go follow you on TikTok.
You should. I'll be live immediately after this interview. So,
buddy, I want to thank you. It's been an amazing interview, and I appreciate you taking the time to answer their emails. I mean,
That's why they pay me the medium bucks, man. Happy to do it.
Until next time, guys, remember to love one another and show each other you care.
Amen.
No.